Have you ever lost your anchor? Let's talk about how we lose our anchors, why, and ways we can prevent it. This anchor right here is pretty common. People will call these a Fluke anchor or a Danforth anchor. The thing to know about this kind of anchor is these are very good. However they fall down, they dig in to the riverbed. And then whenever you want to get it out, you move your boat forward and that lifts it up and out. If you notice, the chain only hooks onto a loop on this end, but it has a hole on this end. Not all of them have holes on this end, but this one does. That's important. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. A different style of anchor that looks very similar is this one here. This one's bigger. This is for a bigger boat. Instead of that bar, this has this rod and this ring, which can slide along this rod. If your chain is hooked onto here and you go to pull the anchor up, that's great. But if it's caught on something, you can go farther forward and the chain will slide along and then pull it up this way to get it out of the rocks or mud. Some people who boat in rivers with a lot of tree roots and other obstructions find that this ring gets caught on stuff. So they don't like this type of anchor for that very reason. So they prefer the one where it's solid. However, they can run into the same problem. Let's say this gets caught on some kind of tree limb where it drags underneath of it like this, and we're caught, and you're trying to pull it up from here. So what you can do is you can mount it on this end. Okay, so what we've done is now we've mounted the chain to the wrong end of the anchor. But what we're going to do is we're going to now tie the chain off to this end of the anchor. Some people tie this off to this end of the anchor with a couple of zip ties. Some people use something that's more biodegradable, like some cotton string or twine. The idea is that it's tied off here so that it acts like it's hooked onto this end and it works like a normal anchor. However, if you really get stuck and you yank on this chain a whole lot, you'll pop it free from that, and then you can pull the anchor up this way. So it's sort of like a two-mounted anchor point to try to save your anchor from getting lost in the river. The flaw with this is that sometimes this will get pulled off on its own, and if it does, especially if you're anchoring overnight, now your anchor can easily be pulled away. Now the reason we talk about it with being anchored overnight is because if you're anchored just for a couple hours during the day while you're fishing or whatever, chances are the wind is usually blowing from the same direction. If your anchor does break free, you're in your boat, you're around, it's daytime, you can see what's going on, and you realize your boat has now changed directions and is going away or whatever. You can react to it. Overnight, if that happens with your anchor, you could end up far away, and it's very dangerous. So you would not want to do that trick when you're anchoring overnight. And I personally think that them putting these holes in this end of this is for this trick to be done. Because why else would the manufacturers put these holes in here? They don't spend extra time and effort manufacturing something for absolutely no reason. Most every accessory piece or bit or hole has a purpose. Because the same thing can be true of this grapnel anchor. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these. So the chain hooks on the top here, this ring lifts off like this, and then look, it's like a grappling hook. That's pretty cool, isn't it? And this ring actually, you can rotate that around at the bottom and it keeps these from folding all the way up. But there is another loop on this end of it. And what a lot of people do is the same kind of thing. They hook the chain to this end and then they tie it off at this end. So that way they have it in here, they're using it like this, but if it gets caught on something really bad, they can yank on this, break free from the string or zip ties or whatever. I prefer to use string on this end, and then the anchor then pulls up from this end and they can recover their anchor more easily. This is definitely used for smaller boats. Some people actually call this a kayak anchor because I guess they don't even recommend it for small boats. I don't know. I always liked these kind of anchors because of the fact that they store up so well. I mean, that's a nice little amount of space taking up in your boat, very compact, versus this thing which has bits hanging out from everywhere. I mean, it is relatively flat, but you know, it's much bulkier. And of course, I'm not going to forget, this is a mushroomer river anchor. This one only has one hole in it, so you tie off on this end right here and that's it. And then as you reverse your boat, this will go along and dig in. Now, as you see, the river anchor is not ideally suited just for sandy bottoms because it's a river anchor. So it's designed to catch things like growth that's under there, marine growth or tree limbs, things like that that might be in the bottom of the river. It's not designed for sandy bottoms. There are other anchors that are better suited for sandy bottoms. However, my experience has been for me with my 12-foot boat that just having this thing sitting on the bottom is enough to keep my little 12-foot boat from going anywhere. So a lot of times I can just drop that anchor and it's going to keep my boat from going anywhere. What's nice about an anchor like this is it's relatively inexpensive, it's not very heavy, and it's pretty easy to transport. Obviously, if you're anchoring for a short period of time in a very small boat, something like a mushroom anchor can work. It just keeps you from drifting too far away. It's simple, it's relatively effective, and you can almost drop it straight down and then just tie off. Is it going to drag around a little bit? Yeah, maybe, but it gets the job done. People will use anything in those situations. I've seen people use old car rims, cinder blocks, any of those kinds of things, a bucket filled with rocks. Anything can be an anchor temporarily in a very small boat. But in a larger boat, where you want to make sure you're holding fast, this type of anchor does a much better job. I cover anchors differently and more thoroughly in some other videos. I'll link my anchoring playlist up here. It's also in the comments. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching.